Welcome, Level Cast learners, to your daily dose of global news. We're here to help you understand important events from around the world while practicing your English. Let's get started with today's headlines. News 1 of 20. First, we look at the situation in Gaza. Promises made by former U.S. President Trump for rebuilding Gaza have not moved forward. This means the future for Gaza remains unclear. Many countries had promised money to a group called Board of Peace for this reconstruction. However, because there has been no diplomatic progress and nothing has changed on the ground, these countries are now not willing to pay. This lack of action keeps the door to a better future for Gaza closed. News 2 of 20. Next, we have a question for you, our listeners. Have you moved to another country because of growing negative feelings towards migrants? We want to hear from people who have already emigrated, or are thinking about it, because of increasing anti-migrant ideas or government policies. This topic is important as discussions about migration continue in many parts of the world. News 3 of 20. Moving to Europe, Russia's threats against the Baltic countries are being called unacceptable. This comes after a drone, which is an unmanned aircraft, flew into Lithuanian airspace. This event caused Lithuanian leaders to quickly go to safety bunkers. The head of the European Union, Ursula von der Leyen, stated that these Russian threats are dangerous for our entire union. This highlights growing tensions in the region. News 4 of 20. From Mexico, a very sad story. People who are looking for their family members, who have disappeared because of the country's cartel wars, are now facing danger themselves. Organized crime groups are threatening and even killing these searchers. The phrase, "If you keep looking we will kill you," shows the terrible risks these relatives take as they try to find their loved ones. News 5 of 20. Good news for trade. The European Union has agreed to carry out a trade deal with the United States that was made last summer. Members of the European Parliament had stopped this agreement twice before. They were protesting against former President Trump's threats to raise taxes on imported goods and his plans to take control of Greenland. Now, the agreement can finally move forward. News 6 of 20. In international politics, there's a discussion about former Iranian President Ahmadinejad. Some people compare his communication style to that of former U.S. President Trump, as both are known for their populist and attention-grabbing messages. However, Ahmadinejad is also openly against Zionism. This raises a puzzling question. How could Israel possibly consider him a person to negotiate with? News 7 of 20. At a summit in Beijing, China's President Xi and Russia's President Putin criticized what they called irresponsible U.S. foreign policy. This meeting happened right after former President Trump's visit. The timing of these visits seemed planned to show a mirror image. However, China made sure that the differences were clear. Both leaders emphasized their close relationship and warned against a return to the law of the jungle. News 8 of 20. Regarding global health, the World Health Organization, or WHO, says that a vaccine to fight the current Ebola outbreak will take 6 to 9 months to develop. So far, this wave of the disease has caused 139 deaths in Central Africa. The efforts to respond have been made difficult by safety concerns in the area. A U.S. doctor who caught Ebola in the Democratic Republic of Congo has been flown to Germany for medical care. News 9 of 20. In the United Kingdom, a new study shows that many voters, from different political parties, believe that the number of people moving to the UK is increasing. This is happening despite a recent sharp decrease in net migration. This study, released with the latest migration numbers, suggests that incorrect beliefs are strongly influencing the public discussion about immigration. News 10 of 20. The United States has charged former Cuban President Raúl Castro. The U.S. is trying to remove the current government in Cuba. These charges, filed in Miami, are against the 94-year-old for allegedly shooting down planes belonging to Cuban exiles in 1996. This action shows a continued effort by the U.S. to pressure the Cuban regime. News 11 of 20. In Canada, there are calls for an investigation into the death of a woman after she donated plasma. Plasma is a part of blood. Advocates say that 22-year-old international student Rodiat Alabid died because of a perfect storm of loose safety rules. This tragic event raises concerns about the safety protocols for plasma donation. News 12 of 20. A briefing on the Ukraine war reveals that Britain will buy diesel and jet fuel made from Russian crude oil. This is allowed because of an exemption that permits Russian oil to be refined in another country and then sold on. Meanwhile, a funeral was held in Kyiv for 2 young victims of Russian bombing, marking day 1547 of the conflict. News 13 of 20. The city of Wellington is facing a serious environmental problem. Millions of liters of sewage have been flowing into the capital city's waters since February. This happened after a major failure at the Moa Point wastewater plant. Residents are asking, how are we going to survive this, as the city faces a 6-month wait to stop the sewage spill. News 14 of 20. Brexit, the United Kingdom's departure from the European Union, might be back in the news. A decade after the initial vote, EU leaders say they would welcome closer ties with the UK. However, they believe Britain first needs to decide exactly what kind of relationship it wants with Europe. This suggests a new phase in the UK-EU relationship. News 15 of 20. Thailand is making its visa rules stricter for tourists. The government says this is because of crimes committed by foreigners. This change ends a 60-day visa-free stay that was previously agreed upon with 93 countries, including the UK, the US, and many countries in Europe. Travelers to Thailand will now need to be aware of these new regulations. News 16 of 20. A report describes the JW Marriott Hotel in Caracas, Venezuela, as a spooks hotel. This 5-star hotel is seen as the central point for the U.S. takeover of Venezuela. Diplomats, businesspeople, and U.S. Marines are reportedly gathering there, making deals and dividing up the country's resources. This paints a picture of a busy and strategic location. News 17 of 20. There is growing anger over how activists on a Gaza flotilla were treated. An Israeli security minister, Itamar Ben-Gvir, caused diplomatic outrage by sharing a video of himself taunting international detainees who were tied up. The U.S. ambassador to Israel criticized Ben-Gvir's despicable actions. Other countries have also condemned the treatment of these activists, and the U.S. has boarded an Iranian oil tanker. News 18 of 20. A Wednesday briefing highlights a serious financial issue. Millions of Britons face a pension cliff edge. A new report warns that many people in the UK are not saving enough for their retirement. This could mean that some will have no choice but to work for longer than planned. This is a concerning outlook for future retirees. News 19 of 20. Let's end with a lighter story. Navy curry has become very popular in Japan. This dish is thought to have been brought to Japan by Anglo-Indian officers in the Royal Navy in the 1800s. Since then, it has become a national obsession. It's a great example of how different cultures can influence each other's cuisine. News 20 of 20. Finally, a Norwegian court has blocked the extradition of a migrant rights activist to Greece. Extradition means sending a person to another country to face legal charges. This case is being celebrated as a victory for human rights. The court in Tromsø stated that the activist, Tommy Olsen's actions, are lawful and protected under international agreements. That's all for today's global news on Levelcast. Keep practicing your English by listening to the news and discussing these important topics. We'll be back next time with more headlines to help you learn and grow.